So now that we've learned the back bends and a spinal twist that we're going to practice as part of our yoga sequence, I want to teach you yet another concept. So remember, in the previous Learn Day, we talked about the concept of playing the edge, something that you could apply as you're practicing, finding that edge, the area of comfortable discomfort, and as you're holding your pose, sort of moving your body in such a way that you can hit that area where you feel that edge, and then you can kind of surf it in and out and stay within that edge. So that was a concept that we learned in the previous video, and something that you had an opportunity, hopefully, to apply during your personal yoga practice. Today's concept is called introspection, or swadhyaya. In Sanskrit, it's one of the terms that is used to, it connotates or means the study of yourself. So one of the things about yoga that you should know and should realize is that it's not just, as I mentioned before, it's not just a physical practice. It looks very physical. We start with easy poses, and then eventually we progress into more challenging poses. Some people do contort their bodies in very grotesque ways, obviously probably due to their unique anatomical structure. Maybe you're one of these people or not, who knows. That's not the point here. Is that the physical aspect of yoga is absolutely infinite, and you can do so many things. In fact, I'm just looking at a book here that's called 2000 Asanas, which seems to imply that there's roughly 2000 asanas in yoga, and probably even more. So, but that's the physical part of yoga. And definitely, if you are looking at this course, when you're taking this course, you probably are taking it for specific benefits. You want to correct your posture, you want to become more mobile, more flexible, and these are all great objectives, and they're all achievable through the practice of yoga. But yoga is so much more. In addition to just the physical aspect, it really is all up here. It really expands your mind. And while you can go talk about religion and spirituality and all of that great stuff, that's definitely not part of this course. The one aspect of one of the mental aspects of the yoga that I really want to bring into this course is something that's called introspection, or swadhyaya, which I have called out earlier. So this is where you are using the physical practice of yoga. You're using yoga as a way to direct your gaze or your attention or your focus from everything that you see on the outside, the world outside, your job, your family, your aspirations, whatever, your possessions, your material possessions, whatever that is that you see and have and feel in this outside world, and you take this gaze and you direct it inwards. And unfortunately, you can't just do it on the go. It's not like you do your work or you drive home from work and all of a sudden you get into that introspective mode of being. Sometimes you do, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult to do. But it is so much easier to do while practicing yoga. And this is one of the magical things about yoga, is that as we are doing our physical postures, which could look very boring from the outside. I mean, it could be pretty boring from an outside observer to watch somebody stand like this for a minute, while what they don't realize that there's a lot of stuff going on the inside. And while you're holding this pose and focusing on all of the tension and all of the sensations that you have in your body, what you're actually doing here is whether consciously or unconsciously, you are bringing the gaze, the focus from the external world into your internal world. You are in your zone, and while you're holding this pose, you're not thinking about your work, you're not thinking about your family, you're holding about the sensation or the heat that are being generated in your quads. You're feeling the stretch in your lower, in your leg. You're thinking about whether you need to lower the shoulders a little bit down to relieve the tension in the shoulders. And there's a lot of adjustment going on here. You're thinking about, what if I start losing balance? Should I go left? Should I go right? What happens when I lift up my toes? Will it make me more balanced? So as you're going through these poses, moving to the other pose in a graceful motion without trying to fall over, all of that mental attention is directed inwards. And eventually, when you practice it and when you bring that concept of introspection, interesting things start to happen. So you would be holding a cobra pose, for example, and you will think about very internal stuff. You will think about your, not just the sensations, but you would think about your character. You would think about your ambitions. You would think about your aspirations. You would really think about the things that you would not generally think about as you go during the day, unless you make a specific effort. But with yoga, and this is the point that I want you to take away, is when you're doing yoga, when you're practicing yoga, this ability to get into this introspective mode becomes much more, it becomes easier. You just naturally fall into it. And what comes out of it is that you start really getting to know yourself. So then your yoga practice, in addition to being a physical practice, becomes almost like a self-growth, self-development. You can call it spiritual practice, where this is your own personal time when you're becoming more flexible, you're becoming more mobile, but at the same time, you get to spend time with yourself, one-on-one, and face everything that you have on the inside. And not all of that is roses and butterflies. Sometimes we are dealing with very difficult things that are sitting inside of us. And this is your opportunity to work through those things. And granted, in a lot of situations, we need we need some outside help to help us through those situations. But there are still some things that we can have a conversation with ourselves and talk through, and yoga practice is one of the best ways to get into that zone. So what I want you to do as part of your homework, next time you practice your yoga, you do the movements, you do the sequences, you flow from one pose into the other, you go into cobra stand, or you hold your locust. See what happens to your mind, and see if how easy it is for your mind to naturally shift from looking outwards and to look into inwards. And notice what's crossing your mind and what type of thoughts you're having. This is just the beginning way of getting more introspection. So bring introspection into the practice. Notice your thoughts, notice what comes to your mind, and see what comes out of it. Just be open-minded about it.